Welcome to the Rebirthing Self podcast relationship series. My name is John.
And my name is Joana. And on this series, we'll talk about how to transform romantic relationships into a foundation of self-love
And live up to your true potential.
Ever wondered why some couples seem to have it all figured out while others struggle?
In today's episode, we'll unlock the secrets of effective communication, managing expectations, and the transformative power of self-improvement. Okay, so I would like to start by asking Joana, what is the point of communication? What's the end goal?
That is a question that all couples should ask themselves and together. How I find that communication is the common piece across all aspects that we will live together as a couple throughout our lifetime. And without it, things just get scattered.
So it's how we're going to weave our relationship and our life and our path that we're going to walk together is through the communication.
Yes, I see it as fundamental.
Absolutely fundamental. So one thing that I would like to specify is that, you know, when first couples start to get together, there's a communication, which is more getting to know each other. Like,
Yes.
What do you like? What have you done? And so on. Where have you been? Where have you traveled? But that's not the communication that we're talking about. That's not the real, like the communication
Yes.
that gets to really figure out who you are and what we are building together. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, you know, when I think about the word communication, I think about common. So what we have in common.
Can I stop you for a moment? I hear the word communification,
Right.
which is coming into a union.
So I think that's the second part that I
Okay.
would go. So I'll go with first you start with what you have in common, talking about it. So let's find if there is actually something in common for us to start a relationship.
Yeah, the values,
Yes. Like what
the
you
goals,
like.
what you
yes.
want.
If you
want
see
kids,
yourself.
if you want kids, where do you want to live, or what do you
Like
prefer
most
to
practical
live?
things. In the beginning, it's like very superficial. And then as you kind of enjoy the other person's company and you are aligned with those goals, then you can go deeper. And that's where the communication.
The communification
Yes.
comes, yes.
That's the union. So I think if we think about those two ways of seeing the word, then we see, okay, first there's this superficial layer, and then you go into the nitty gritty, and that's where it becomes super interesting.
And if you notice, when there's no communication, what starts to happen in the relationship is people actually start to
Fall
drift
apart.
apart.
Yeah,
Drift
yeah.
apart.
Exactly.
So the communication is a form, well, depending on how you communicate, obviously
Yes.
that we'll talk about that in just a moment, but supposedly is to make a unit of the couple, of the individual, to make one better together, right? And if that doesn't happen, then there's the rift that will start to happen, and many relationships fall because of that, because the communication is not there,
Yeah.
or because the communication isn't clear, is not direct. There's a lot
Yes.
of expectations
Yeah.
and assumptions.
And
which
we're
we'll
going to
talk about
cover all of that.
in just a moment.
Yes. And the way I want you to invite to stick with us is how amazing it is once you get into that level of communication where you find yourself in it. You are fulfilled in who you are. That you actually, and this is what we have, and I'm actually feeling those, goosebumps, is like when you realize this is the relationship where I really want to be in. This is where I can be myself and I see us expanding. It's like unlimited potential. And that it starts when you are heard, when you have the space to speak up.
Yeah.
And
there's the from the part of the other, there's the openness to listen.
to listen, yes.
Okay, to know that you have a safe space to say what you have to say.
Yes.
And know that it's not going to backfire on you. Like to create that space so that there's no pointing fingers and then blaming and then
Yes.
and then there's the fight and then there's an argument and so
And then
on.
you feel, and I think
So to create
the
that.
communication sometimes when you realize that you really need to talk about communication is when there's that lack, or when you feel that the communication is going completely the opposite direction, when it's about fighting, arguing.
But that's not
But that's not the communication. That's when that's the opposite happens.
That comes separation.
Yeah.
It's not a unit.
And so it's like, and when you actually start to see that this works, then you want to continue doing
Yeah, do
it.
more.
And this is what I come, like, after our 15 years together now,
Yes.
and 12 years,
11
11 of
of
marriage.
marriage.
That's where you actually see, okay, this is what works. And I mean, it works for us, but it's so interesting that we can share.
Now it's important to also understand why it works. Why have we made this work? Okay.
Yeah.
And one important aspect about communication that you have with another to understand is that, especially with relationships, like very close relationships with your partner, with your mother and father, and even your
Siblings.
children, siblings, the communication that you have with them is also a reflection of the communication that you have with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not open to have that honest communication with yourself first, then it's going to be very difficult to also create that communication with your partner.
Yeah, because the world around you is a mirror of what's happening within you.
Yeah.
And when you are in a turmoil inside, when you feel very unstable, that's what you will going to project.
Yeah.
So then you fight conflicts everywhere because that's within you.
That's the communication you're having with yourself,
Yeah.
and then you just start to spew all that stuff
And
out.
what I find is, like, in our relationship is that we have this alignment going on. It's like when I feel misaligned, it comes across.
Yeah.
And because you, instead of you reacting right away, it's more like, hey, why are you talking like that? What is
What's
actually going
happening?
on? Yes. And then everything comes out. Like things that happened during the day and that I perhaps were suppressing somehow because I didn't even know how to put out, how to communicate, because sometimes I think so overwhelming.
That happens a lot where
Yes.
where our experience, our inner experience during the day, whatever we're going through, could be stuff at work that creates some anxiety, some stress, and we're frustrated and we're irritated, and then we kind of forget about it. It's kind of put it there in the back burner, hidden away, and then we enter the space with our partner,
The safe
and then
space.
a little thing that he or she does is
triggers.
enough to just trigger
Yeah.
a reaction, and you just explode, and it's like, what the fuck, calm down. It's like, this is not the reason for that reaction.
Yeah.
What's really happening?
But you have to be also very careful when you say that, because if you were to react right away, or even
not
just
to dismiss.
not
I don't mean to
condescending,
not
yes,
to
exactly.
dismiss it.
So in a relationship, it's like the other person could realize, okay, this is nothing about me, but okay, let's hear out, and it's not being condescending. It's more like, all right, let's sit down
investigate
and
it.
let's
Communicate.
Let's communicate, and that's the other level, and it's like you're in listen mode, and then it's like I find that alignment where, okay, and now I understand what's going on within me, and now we can talk about other things that are common or that impact us both.
Yes.
But to me, that's where our communication is that mirror of where I am at.
Yeah. Also, another thing that I find really important to mention in regards to communication is the fact that, and this is a generalization, obviously, that most men are mostly closed. Most
Introverted.
men introverted, keep most things for themselves. And women are a little bit more of the opposite. They talk about all the stuff they're experiencing and more. They go above and beyond all that they have to say.
All the details.
All the details. And sometimes it makes life even worse for themselves, because they have all that dialogue going on inside themselves. Sometimes they can complicate things for themselves even more. And from the perspective of men, sometimes it's like, why are you complicating with so many, and then is this and then is that? Well, calm down. But men do the opposite. They just don't say anything.
Yeah, and then we think everything is fine until it's
not.
too late, and
And
then
it's
you
too
realize it's been accumulated.
Yeah.
So in the end, we do the same thing,
Yes.
but just in different ways.
Polar opposite. Yeah.
Yes. And then it's important, like the lack of communication will come from either you accumulate that for too long because you think that it's not a good time, it's not a good opportunity to talk about it until I find out something that is going on, or the opposite, where I don't communicate as a point of almost like a tantrum.
Yeah,
Because
that happens a lot.
normally I would be very talkative, but then when something is like, I don't know, an emotion is taking over, I'm angry or something, then I'll go into being quiet, almost like expecting you to say, hey, what's going on?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
I'm here, talk about it.
Yes. And sometimes it happens that the in this case, I would feel like she was to blame for something, and I'm also quiet. So then we're both quiet.
Yes.
For a while.
And it's, well,
It's
we're shortening that time. Like, it will not be more than an hour.
until it's like, okay, we have to talk about this now.
Yes. Because you
let's open
feel
up.
almost like as if there's this cold in the...
Yeah, it's like we're in ego. That's
Yeah.
what it is. We're
Yes.
in the emotion, and we're holding on to that
There's that
point.
friction.
We're holding on to that experience of I am right,
Right.
I've been wronged, and the other person is to blame.
Yes. And
And-
you want
and-
the other one to take the initiative. And this is such a childish thing to do.
Yeah.
But when you talk about it, you're like, yeah, why do you do that? It's like,
Then you have to actually open
but we
up.
do. It's everybody does it.
And obviously the key is to communicate,
Yes.
to open up the stuff, to open up, okay,
Yes.
why am I reacting this way? Why are you reacting this way? How am I blaming you? Tell me your perspective. I'll tell you my perspective. And then we can actually understand why I did this, why
But
you
this
did
is
that.
so much easier said than done. Because in
Yeah.
the moment, you
Because
feel
the emotion, the energy
Yes.
just
it can take over.
freezes you.
One thing that is being very helpful in past years is seeing our children doing that. And then you see it with your own eyes. Someone outside see the whole dynamic, the emotion, the reaction, the tantrum. And now that you see it, or sometimes in other couples you may see it as well, or maybe in your parents' relationship, and then you kind of, okay, I have the key. I know how to. And sometimes it's just to say, hey, let's talk about it.
Yeah. And
And
sometimes
it takes really to put the ego aside. It's like I don't care if I'm right or wrong.
yeah.
I just want to have this sorted because we're so much better when we move.
And just to let
Beyond
go,
this.
Yeah, just to let go of that, the experience that you're having, that is holding you hostage.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
you're possessed by the energy, and it's just like you're chained. You're in chains.
Yes.
But you have to break the
The
shackles,
release.
and then actually be open to communicate.
And it has nothing to do with the other one. It's amazing because then
Yeah,
you think
that experience doesn't
that
have,
experience
doesn't have, has
is
nothing to do
not
with the other.
dependent on another person saying I'm sorry or I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
No, it cannot because then you're
you're
dependent on
Yeah.
someone else's forgiveness.
Yeah,
Because it starts within you. It's like the moment that you are ready to talk about with the other person, then you've done that work internally
Yeah.
already.
Before I continue, I just want to make a quick announcement regarding the book that I'm just about to finish, which I hope to release sometime in December, about this process of rebirthing the self. So if you're enjoying this video, if you're enjoying this podcast, this book is all about this and much more. So you're going to get a lot of value from it. Therefore, just make sure to follow me on YouTube or Twitter or on Instagram for the updates of the book. Okay, back to the podcast. Let's move on to the next point, which is expectations, okay?
That's a big one.
Which is a point that, and obviously expectations in the relationship, it can be a lot about, it's everything. It could be about the communication, about what you want from life. If you have kids, sometimes people get together, but they don't even talk about if they want to have kids or not. And then years go by, and then, no, I didn't want to have kids. But I wanted kids. Yeah, there's an expectation.
And it also depends on where you are in your life and how
Obviously,
old are you.
obviously. But what I mean to say is that these point of the expectations is it actually comes from a lack of communication.
Or
where
fear.
then many things will fail. Yeah, sometimes a fear.
Fear of getting the answer that you don't want to hear.
Exactly. and expectations about the house and who should do what.
Money.
Money,
It's a big
expectations
one.
about money, how to spend money, who's making the money.
Yeah.
Sex, how
Yeah.
often, when should we do it, who should start. Come on, you should do it, you shouldn't do it. I mean,
Yes.
so
Well,
open up.
So one important aspect of expectations is to have a look at what you bring from previous relationships.
Yeah.
Like what baggage do you carry? Because then you could be missing an amazing potential of a new relationship because you're bringing all of that you haven't sorted out within yourself. So to me, that will be kind of the first thing to be clear.
And sometimes also projecting, like you had a certain relationship and then with somebody else, and you expect your new partner, your new partner to act in a certain way just as your ex did because you like that certain aspect of
yes, or the opposite.
Or the opposite, exactly.
And then they behave the same, and you think, oh my gosh, I moved to a different relationship and I'm facing the same point.
The same point.
That's a time loop. Okay, spoiler alert, but that's a time loop where meaning that you're facing yourself. It's your point again that you have to face, and that's the point that if you have already identified, it means that it's you in relationship to that person, because the person, it's the pattern.
How you deal with that pattern.
Yeah.
Because let's imagine you have a certain relationship with someone, and there's a certain conflict. There's something that is not aligned, and you don't want to face it. You don't want to actually face yourself in that pattern, in that problem. And then you're like, I just can't deal with this, and you just end the relationship, and that's it. And then you find a new person, and the pattern is still there. And that's a time loop.
And the way you
again,
respond
you're going to have
it.
to face it, and if you don't, it's going to be a problem. And if you don't face it and you end the relationship, well, then you're just gonna postpone it to another relationship, because it has to do with you as well. It's not necessarily that how the other person is acting. Well, maybe you are actually choosing partners that have the same habitual pattern.
Yeah.
Okay, and that could be something for you to be on the lookout. It's like, why do I keep searching, or why do I keep choosing partners that have the
same behavior?
The same behavior, yeah. So gotta be careful
Yes.
to not put yourself in that situation.
And one expectation that I had once, at least in our case, we started hanging out and going out and talking, it was from the very beginning, we talked about our previous relationships, and we were like, okay, I know where it led us because they didn't work. So let's do it differently. And we were very open at doing things differently because we knew where those old patterns would lead us. Or would lead us, sorry. So basically that was my point, is like, actually the expectation was, let's do it differently to have a different outcome.
Yeah.
So in my case, I was no longer so attached to some elements that to me I thought it was essential in a guy. And I was more looking into other aspects because those previous ones was very superficial. And that was not a solution for me.
Yeah. I think it has to also the point of maturity. Because we were young.
Yeah.
When at least, both of us, we were pretty young in our previous relationships that things went crazy, at least from my side. And then I was like almost a year, I think more than a year. Single. And then when we got together, I was like really focused on actually already developing myself and trying to figure out who I am and what I want to do with life and how can I improve myself. Mm-hmm. And that was the first conversation that we started to have. Mm-hmm. It was actually about this point of how can we be better? How can we...
Yeah, what is our purpose in the world, basically?
Yes, exactly. So there was an alignment already there from the start, a really strong connecting point for both of us that was relevant for what we wanted.
So and it started with that expectation. It was more like no expectations. Yeah. That was a good one, because then it was like every new aspect that was like a plus.
Well,
okay, this
there are expectations, but you don't assume.
Yes, or you don't get determined by it.
You talk about it. You actually talk about it. And this is what I want to take the conversation is. Okay, so what is the solution for not having expectations? Or if there are expectations, they must be communicated, and both must know what the expectation is. For example, in our house, I am the cook, so it is expected that I have dinner ready, that I make dinner. So the day doesn't happen. It doesn't happen one day that she comes home with the kids, and I'm like, no, you do dinner. like, because the expectation, the agreement,
Yeah.
okay, this is already talked about, this is certain in our house, is that I'm preparing dinner and that's sorted. That's where I want to get to, is the communication again, to talk about everything, so that everyone knows the place, their place in the relationship, their function in the relationship. What do they have to do? What is
and see,
to make it functional?
Yeah,
to make
it flows naturally,
Exactly.
and it's something that it's not fixed in time. It's like this is the case for the next 3 months, and then we'll see. We might do this. We need to do this almost like reality checks.
Cooking. I think I'll be
every
cooking
day
for a long time.
No, but you're better than me, anyways. But also, it's like you do the reality checks, like. Currently in our professional career and where we're at, this is what makes sense, and you do these adjustments as needed. But yeah, is there anything else you want on expectations?
I think we could just touch on the point of sex.
Yeah, which is a big one. Like the expectation in sex.
Yes.
And it's such a relief when you start having that openness about it. And to me, that was really important, because where I come from, well, we come from the same culture, but in women it's a little bit different. And I was very religious when I was young. And so that was a big process for me to start letting go of those chains, I would say, literally. Like, so it's just literally in my head, those limitations that I thought like right or wrong, good and bad. And that was actually, and then you were super, you are so like open-minded about it.
And I think I can talk about.
We should do an episode specifically
Obviously,
only on sex.
But I think I can talk on behalf of most men, which is most men expect to have sex quite regularly, and women, not all of them obviously, but most of them, because of their hormonal cycles, sometimes they want to have more sex, sometimes not so much, and sometimes not at all, and it's important to also have this communication and to clear this out. And obviously, if you're together with someone, and sex is not only important for coming together emotionally and connecting with the other person and creating a strong bond, but it's also a physical
need?
Functional need, physiological need of the human body to have the orgasm, to release that energy once in a while. And it's definitely better doing
when both are
sex rather than masturbation. So, and it feels better. So,
and masturbation does not necessarily mean it alone. It's that's the other point. Like masturbation is not just you by yourself. It's like the woman can help in that process, can be of that provider of pleasure, let's say.
And the man as well.
Yeah, exactly.
So to talk about sex in terms of, we have these needs. This is me when I want. This is me when I don't want. So if you don't want, but during the week we need to make time and space for that, and to not go into that emotional thing of throwing a tantrum of, oh, my wife is not giving it to me. I'm just gonna be upset here, and then there's another problem within all of this.
The back chat.
Well, is the back chat and the secret stuff that happens in the background for most men, also happens for women, which is the pornography, which is when, even if they have sex, most men will engage in pornography, and that is also a podcast in itself, or an episode for us to talk about. But to avoid falling into that trap of if the unity is not good with both, then to not create that
those
back
doors,
that is going to create problems in the long run.
And it's so unnecessary, because it could be so much easier. And we know that because we have that clear path between us. There's that clarity. We do some adjustments when needed. And also, I think when you become mother, and with pregnancy and all of those changes that happen in our body, there has to be definitely a point of patience and a point of understanding, a physical, like an emotional alignment in that. But once we pass those early phase, then is creating a routine, but a healthy routine where both of us, and to me, these days, it's a point where I can deal with an adult.
I can what?
I deal with an adult.
Okay.
It's like having that point of having just the two of us without the kids around, and being creative and finding that time. It doesn't need to be at night, for example, because then we might be super tired. Kind of finding like lunchtime, let's get together. The nannies, we're going to take care of them, or let's get help with the grandparents to stay with the kids. Find a way for that intimacy. I think sex is that point of intimacy where it's like all of us, everything of ourselves, like mind, body, soul, is kind of surrendering to that moment. It's like we need this kind of moment.
It's a connection with another, which represents who we are. As well.
And because we have that
physical expression, a physical release, a presence just in that moment. It's like there's nothing else. You can just really enjoy it,
and then have fun with it, and then expand. And I think it's so interesting.
Try things and
it's so interesting when you have a long-term relationship. When you look at Pat and you think about how it was in the beginning, and then you see it now. It's like, wow, this is a long walk, and we do it together, and it's like a dance. It starts with, there was expectation, but then there was also the let go of those expectations and say, okay, what's the reality? Where do we want to go? Okay, what do I need to sort out within me? Why do I judge that? Why is that position so hard? Not sometimes physically, but like in the mindset and mental.
Like this is wrong.
Yes, like where that judgment comes from, and then release that. And I think that's the self-improvement part as well that we need to talk about.
Yes. So let's go.
Let's deep dive.
Now, to talk about this point of the self-development and self-improvement, it's important to mention that Joana and I have created something that most couples don't really do, which is we have decided to be together, and we've created an agreement. And the agreement is that we're standing together to assist and support ourselves and each other in the process of becoming our best selves. Now, all these words are very specific, okay?
Yes. And to really have the best version of ourselves in all aspects of our life. It's actually a written agreement.
Yeah,
we wrote about it. But then we also have this mind map.
Yes. We've done a lot of things regarding this, because obviously this has been growing. But the point is that we have this agreement that we're the relationship is an agreement, which means that we are pushing for ourselves and each other to become the best that we can be in this life. Okay. Yes. And that means that when things go wrong and when there's friction and conflict and discussions, we don't just let it grow and we don't let it accumulate. Mm-hmm. We actually go and we talk about it. We communicate about it. We sort out the expectations. And that's the point of us being together. Obviously, we want to have a life together, have children, and so on. But it's about this point of making this life the most that we can within ourselves and in the relationship, and grow within this foundation.
Yes, and that's that purpose. It guides in all our decisions.
And within this agreement, within this agreement, what the fundamental tools that we have, we're just going to talk about two of them, which is self-honesty. We have to be honest with ourselves, and the forgiveness. Okay?
Yeah.
Because when we're having these emotions, these frustrations, these reactions, we have to clear the space. And to clear the space, we have to be honest with ourselves, honest with the other as well, and to figure out what is really happening inside us, and then to release it, to deconstruct those reactions, those patterns, release it and deconstruct it with the self-forgiveness that then sometimes, most of the times, we do individually. So if there's something that is happening or just in my life, is something that I'm dealing with, then I go and write about it. Sometimes there's a reaction, there's a friction between us, and then it's like, okay, we have to stop. We have to just clear ourselves
Give
first
some time.
before we actually go and talk about it, and then we can just stop for a moment and write about it
Or just do it in real time.
but
Like,
sometimes
yeah.
it also helps to just write about it, and then we come together. It's pretty cool because we come together and it's like, okay, this was the problem and this is what I've realized.
Yeah.
So done. Okay, like the discussion is done. There's nothing to talk about.
So most times it's easier
Because
than we think.
we already figured out the problem within ourselves, and
Yeah.
you can say, and then you can actually, it's not only about then forgiving ourselves as we're doing the writing and figuring out what was the problem within us, but then he's saying also, I'm sorry, I fucked
Yeah.
up, I shouldn't have said this, I shouldn't have
Yeah.
done that,
I could do differently. I am better than this.
and I will be better next time.
Yeah.
And that's the improvement.
Yes.
If there's, that's the growth, that's the improvement. It's like you
Yeah.
realize how you've made a mistake,
and
and you commit to
and
change.
the point of having the word like mistake, you missed that take, and next time you will not miss it because you know exactly, you can identify where you missed it.
Yeah.
That opportunity to change. And I think the good thing of when you are with someone for a long time is you can see that change.
Yeah.
And it's so good. And then sometimes we may fall into those old behaviors, old patterns, but then we are in, okay, yeah, I know where I can be better. Let's talk about, there's still a lot of points that we want to improve in our lives together and individually.
Yes.
And it's good when you see that, but you see the potential, but then you also see in action in real time, and you know we can stick with that. We can be consistent. And I think most relationships, from what I hear from my friends and people around me,
And even our parents.
yes, is the consistency on not being the best that you can. It's actually the opposite. And sometimes you see the potential.
Because they're fighting for their own point of view, for their own limitations.
In a way.
That happens a lot.
Yeah, or you're just not aware. It's like that lack of
Yeah.
awareness. And I have close friends where you see the potential either in the guy or in the woman, but mostly in the guy. You see the potential of communication, the potential of speaking things in different ways, the potential of being consistent, and then it's just not applied. And that's the point of like, apply yourself, put in action. And that's where self-honesty comes.
Yeah.
Because you know when you're not being your best, and then you can go into justifications. I'm tired, or it's her to blame, or something. But when you actually are the best of you, then things around you flow, relationships flow, and you stop blaming everybody else for your own problems. Yeah. You take ownership for that. And when you do that together, it's so powerful. It's powerful because then you see we can do everything, we can achieve so much. And I'm not talking about material things. It's more like where you want to go, things that you want to put in practice, things that you want to create in your life, can expand.
Yeah, there's that possibility because
Yeah.
as humans, we have so much baggage because of our parents and how we were raised, and which is already coming from our parents' parents and their parents' parents. So it's in the Bible, it's referred to as the sins of the fathers. So we have all this baggage, and for as long as you're holding on to this, your life is going to be limited. What we will do in life and what we achieve in life is limited by all that baggage that we're holding on to. But the moment you actually start to be honest with yourself and you commit to changing yourself, and at least we can say this for sure, that the writing is such a powerful tool, especially when you add in the self-forgiveness, where you actually forgive yourself for allowing and accepting yourself to participate in certain limitations, in certain thought patterns, in certain addictions, in putting yourself in situations that you always end up regretting. When you start to forgive yourself for all that stuff and you actually change, then it's like that stuff will no longer burden you, and what you can achieve is the possibilities of what you can become and achieve starts to open up.
Yeah.
And become more, it's just there. You can just start to reach it and actually start to materialize it, make it real, manifest it. Because you're breaking through those barriers, those inner limitations that you have.
And I think relationships are that. It's like you can visualize things together and then you walk towards those goals. But there's all this work that needs to be done. It cannot be just talk about it. You have to put in action, but also it's kind of understanding this whole influences, all dynamics that are involved, and having that point of that awareness that needs to happen, and doing that together, because we are like in a mirror. Like, and that's why I think relationships can be so, it's a curse sometimes, because you see yourself all the time. Like, there's no way to run away from it. Like, you're not by yourself just messing up. And at the same time is this amazing opportunity to
expand yourself.
To be the best that you can be, that you can't even imagine sometimes. It's like, you're leaving the moment, you're creating your life. You're not living your parents' life or your people that you know. It's like your life. And that is, and that's where we are and what we want to continue doing. And it's always a work in progress. So there's no holiday, but it's not tiring at the same time, because that's a decision. It's a decision.
And it gets easier.
Yeah.
Because you're actually dealing with the stuff, with the shit that is happening, and then
You
you
deal
sort it
anyways,
out, and then you sort it out, and then it's easier, and life is easier, and communication is easier, and decisions are easier, and you actually enjoy spending time with each other and doing podcasts and stuff.
And
like
then
that.
the communication, and going back into the initial point of communication, then it's almost like sometimes you don't even need to say anything.
Yeah.
There's moments like, I'm not a silent person. I'm always talking most of the times.
That's
but
why she's her.
And my voice is like this.
It's gone.
But with us, we actually have moments where I'm not talking. Have you noticed?
See, I create space, and the woman can actually be quiet for a moment.
Oh my gosh, that's condescending.
No, it's not.
No, but
Because
what I'm
I actually
thinking
give
is,
you the space to just be with yourself.
yes, or it's just like finding that self-enjoyment.
Yeah.
Because I noticed that sometimes the talking could also be a way to hide other things. That's my own point.
Yeah.
So it's, I think creating that space of, the word that came to my mind is harmony, where you are in harmony. And the beauty is once you have children and you create this environment to your kids. And I think, it's like, it's the best when you, because that's also what we want. It's like bringing that emotional stability, self-stability, where we are stable as human beings, and they feel it as well.
And they don't know it yet, but by creating this environment, they're going to grow in this environment, and this is going to be normal for them. And as they grow up, and they start to have their relationships, they will have us as a reference, and they'll know if things are not aligned with how my parents were doing things, which was obviously nice, then I know there's something wrong, and they will know, like, because they're seeing us doing it. They hear us. Well, Mariana is not really understanding, but Bernardo is our son. He's 5 years old, so he's already starting to understand, and even when we have small disagreements, we actually talk about it in front of him, so that he understands. Like, he doesn't understand consciously, but subconsciously he's like, okay, my parents are talking about this. There's a disagreement, and they're talking, and then things are okay, and then we sort it out.
We explain to him.
Tell him,
look, we're talking about this.
There's a problem.
Yes,
we're sorting it out.
And it's nothing to do with him. Like, he doesn't have to feel like...
It's not a fight. That's the thing. We're not fighting in front of them. We're discussing. And sometimes it can be a little bit...
the voice tonality.
There can be a little bit of friction, because obviously, otherwise there was no discussion.
Yeah.
There would be no discussion. But it is important to understand, because we're talking about real stuff, real shit.
Yeah.
And but in the end, we actually clear the space, and things are stable. And
we have the
he
goal
understands it.
of finding that agreement within that point, and not fighting for our own limitations. That's like put the ego aside. If like
it's not like the man gets up and
leaves
the house,
or gives or
bangs
punch
the door,
the table.
Yeah,
and,
exactly.
No,
That's
not
not
at all.
that's not the example we're setting.
And the other day, just like something that I was really proud of. Our son came to us and say, just breathe.
He said that to you.
Like, just breathe in, Mom. Like, take it easy. Thank you. I needed to hear that.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
he was seeing me like a little bit in a rush, and then once they starting giving that feedback, you know you're doing something right.
Yeah, I mean, how many times we've told your son, take a
Yeah.
breath. You're frustrated. We understand. Yeah, he's a little bit.
So I think
reactive
it's
sometimes.
more like this. The relationships, it has ripple effects.
Yeah,
And so it's like, what impact do you want to have in the people around you, yourself and people around you, the closest to you?
and this will touch again on the point of expectations. And when you're coming together with someone, when you decide to be with someone, like, what are you actually going to create? This was actually something that I just a few moments ago I wanted to talk about, which is many people will come together, they create a relationship, but just to fulfill their desires and their ideas of what they want in a relationship, meaning, but surface ideas, surface things that they've copied from society and from movies.
Yeah.
But what we've decided to create is something that goes, deeper, beyond all of that superficial stuff. It's about who we actually are. It's about who am I deciding to be, and who do I want to become in life, in this life. And to have the other also do the same. And so we're doing it together, and the relationship becomes a reflection of of that decision that you want to become better, and not just to be together with someone just to have sex and experience orgasms, or to have a woman that you can take to dinner
to show off.
and she's
Yeah.
all pretty and I'm all sweaty and so on. That's
Those are not the roles that we're looking at.
Yes.
And it doesn't have to be doing the same things. It's more like his expression is his expression. I do my own things.
yeah.
But it's kind of like our starting point is the same.
That's actually important.
Because
I
sometimes
think is what you
if people come, in a way, they come together and they are like as one. And we're still individuals.
No, yeah, we're very individual. Like, she wants to go surfing, she goes surfing.
Or
and
with my
sometimes-
friends.
And I go fishing, and then I come into the studio and I
Like
do my
I have
music.
to, I want to have my social
like-
life.
yeah,
He's
yeah.
not.
Yeah.
He doesn't like
We
social
have-
life,
we
so
have-
I have to find my own.
We don't
group.
have separate lives,
Yeah.
but we have the things that we like and to do and enjoy, and we
Yeah.
can do those things
Yeah.
either by ourselves or with our friends.
Yeah.
And then we do things together.
Exactly.
And so it's not like we're together and then we're glued and spending
Yeah,
all the
yeah,
time together, and everything that we do has to be like aligned. She likes to do certain things, I like to do other things.
Yeah.
And
As long
can
as
do
the
them.
communication is clear, it's like, okay, I need this time to do
Space.
these things.
Yeah.
And there's that point of trust. Like, he goes fishing until 2 a.m. in the morning. That's it. It's like, I don't even have other thoughts when he arrives at 2 a.m. in the morning.
Or 4.
Or whatever. I don't even know what time he arrives sometimes. But then I see the fish in the fridge, so I know it's true. When you fish.
When you fish.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is there's that unshakable trust. It's like you don't even have other thoughts. And there's that clear communication, what we're doing, because there's no need to have those back doors. There's no need. And that is, or it takes such an amazing like layer off and time that other people might be busy in their heads, and then you don't have space and time to do important stuff in the relationship if you're too busy with unnecessarily thoughts. So it's like kind of clear your head with all the things that are not supporting you in the relationship, and focus on that what you want to create and do with your lives.
That's it. I think we could finish this first episode here.
Yes, thank you for listening and watching.
All right, and I'll see you next week. Soon, maybe next week. Bye-bye.